So now we will have a panel discussion on topic future of L&D, what next decade holds for L&D department. And for the same, I would like to invite all the speakers. So this panel will be moderated by Mr. Sabin Kidwai, who is the Director Learning Solutions, Talent Management and OD at Schneider Electric, Greater India. And we have our panel speakers, Mr. Rabeen Singh, Chief Human Resource Officer, Tata Advanced Systems Limited, Munish Vasudeva, Vice President, Human Resource, Siemens Limited, Manish Rastogi, Head Capability Development and Talent R&D at Vodafone Idea, Anjali Goel, Head HR, VMart, and Dr. Prem Das Maheshwari, Business Director, South Asia, D2L. Over to you, Sabhi, to take this forward.
Really appreciate you guys waiting till the end and joining for this panel discussion. We were wondering if we would have enough of listeners here. So, no, thank you very much. Appreciate you being here, and let me start the conversation here today with an honest confession that there's hardly that you would get to hear from this conversation which is like out of the world. You've never thought about it, you've never heard about it, and or never read about it. But what we would try and do is we'll bring in an honest conversation here. We will bring in our perspectives about learning, about learners and the future of learning, and we'll also share with you what are our apprehensions or our reflections about some of those things. So that's what we could promise in this conversation that we would want to start now. To start with, let me share a personal story, kind of. A few months back, like all responsible fathers, one morning I was sitting and reading the newspaper, and my son was sitting on a sofa with his foot on the sofa and playing with his phone. And I was reading, that was a weekend, so I was reading the newspaper very leisurely, and then like all responsible parents, I had to tell him that, what are you doing? Why can't you read newspaper? You don't know what is happening around the world. So without looking at me, he said, no, I know. And he kept on playing. And then I said, no, you don't know. See what all is happening. There was this whole chaos that had happened a few days back, and this was the time when some movement was happening. And I said, see, that accident happened and that movement happened and there's so much of this. And I was reading the headlines and I said, do you know what all is happening? And this guy is absconding. So still without looking at me and continuing on his phone, he said, no, he's no longer absconding, he's arrested. I said, I can read it here, he's absconding. He says, you're reading yesterday's news. Today morning he's arrested. So the point that I was making was that while we think our ways and what we've grown with and the way we've learned and the way we've evolved over years is the right way, the world has moved on. The world has moved on. These youngsters, these people have found their own ways of updating themselves, of learning, of sharing in their own ways. And I think what I would want to do today is start the conversation from there. I would invite my panelists to comment, and maybe Rabeen, I will start from your side. You may want to take the microphone. And what we would want to hear from you is that how is, with all that is changing around the world, how is the learner changing? What is happening to the learner?
So, two specific changes in the learner. One, of course, this entire pandemic made us so tuned to things like Netflix, which means you choose what you want to view. Similarly, in learning also, that the learner will choose what he wants to learn, how he wants to learn, and the entire aspect of self-paced learning will undergo a paradigm shift. That is one. The second is, from a content perspective also, the learner would like to have more interactive content. I mean, the entire gamification of learning which is what, it's kind of, it was there, but I think it will kind of explode. The learner would like to kind of have a case study or like a video game where he's, investing money and he's, learning concepts of finance while going through that kind of, a particular game. So gamification, the entire content will undergo a change. And the way the learner is doing self-paced learning will undergo a change. It will be a bit-sized learning. It will be content which is going to be more interactive, and it is going to be, a combination of course, hybrid. But the entire classroom model will undergo a change where, the trainer will talk about in the form of facilitation, and the class of 10, 15, 20, 30 people will all have their laptops or their screens in front of them, where they will do half the things on the screen, giving answers, responses. So the pace, in my understanding, will double. Because what used to happen is, we used to try and give to the learners some case study, please go through, read, come, I will explain. It will be so fast that they will be interacting on the system, they will be interacting on the game, they will also be listening to the facilitator. And the whole learning speed will become, in my understanding, at least threefold faster than what it used to be in the past. Because, just to put in that point, that the new generation, which is, people who were born in year 2000, have stepped into the organization. Their ability to learn is far, far faster than, of course, similar to what you said about your son.
Yeah.
So these three, I think, things, self-paced learning, the content of learning, and of course the speed, the hybrid itself will undergo a change. These are my broad takes
Sure.
on learners' perspective.
Anjali, any views that you have on the learner? And I would, as of now, want to focus on the learner itself. How is the learner changing?
I think learner is more curious,
Uh-huh.
is more impatient as of now that I feel. I think more looking towards the blending learning approach. I mean, no learner is looking for a one-size-fits-all approach. They're also looking for a physical training. They also want to go towards gamification. They also want to have some interactive workshops. I think also one thing that we have observed and we are doing is the learner is also curious what's in it for me now and the future. It's both. So how how do we integrate that? How do we create that inertia in the learner that all the time you have multiple digital tools available, multiple courses available, trainers available, platforms available. But I think that learner also at times get confused, where to use, which medium. I think that's how we need to also curate certain programs for the learner that, and give him or her a direction that where to go and how to learn, unlearn about the programs.
Sure. Manish, you picked the mic, so I thought you have some.
Yes, previously, of course, they were looking for, and both of them have said, learning in the flow of work, all that happened, we've empowered learners. But after COVID, it is the reverse which I am seeing. Now they are saying, there's too much of a screen fatigue. People are coming back and saying, boss, when are we starting those workshops? And in our employees SAT survey, despite having 100% training coverage, people said training nahi hua. Now that's the result of the digital workshops. On the lighter note, for a moment I felt, ये हो क्या रहा है? पहले कुछ और मांगते थे, अभी कुछ और मांग रहे हैं. तो मतलब, as a rule, man is a fool. When it is hot, he wants cold. When it is cold, he wants hot. Always wanting what is not. So now they are wanting to go back. However, having said that, we cannot undermine what, the advantages of digital learning, so that behavior is changing, certainly.
So, but in some ways you're saying the behavior is not changing, they are asking for what is not there. So when they wanted more digital and now you're saying they want more class. Is that what you're
So what I'm saying is, yes, what Anjali said, it has to be somewhere blended. Digital learning in isolation or would not work, or classroom workshops in isolation would not work. When you have a large geographically spread organization, time consumed is more, cost is high, so then you need digital as well. So both has to be blended, and of course we cannot stay away from the advantages which digital today is offering vis-a-vis what it used to be 15 years back, right? So I think there's a beautiful world out there, so we are looking at it.
Sure.
Also.
Thank you. Thanks. Dr. Maheshwari, if you have a,
So I think one thing is very clear that the learner today is smarter than us.
okay.
Much smarter than us. All of them, most of them were born either in late 90s or early 20s. They have better knowledge, better understanding, and better adaptability of technology. And therefore, I say that they're smarter than us. Since they're smarter than us, and we are the leaders, so we have to be a step ahead, and therefore we have to modify us, change ourselves. So today, no more there are sage on this stage. It's more guide by the side. So that is the learning approach we have to adopt to meet the paradigm shift that they've already undergone. And we are still lagging behind. Most of us are lagging behind. We need to pace ourselves to meet that standards and their understanding of learning and development today. So that's
Sure.
very important.
Very interesting. And in the way we've spoken, one thing, and you were very specific, Dr. Maheshwari, is that learners are smarter than us. But you were also in some ways alluding to the fact that learners are younger than us. I am challenging that statement, and I'm challenging that thought process. That does not mean that learners are only people who learn in the early stages of their career. I think learning itself is changing, and it is going to be lifelong. The validity of what we have learned earlier is actually challenged and is no more as valid and as relevant. And it is important for everyone at every stage to learn. Now, if that be the case, then how should we change the learning environment? What is it that we are doing in our organizations or as leaders and learners together that we are doing to really bring in this novelty and make it relevant to the times? Munish.
So I picked up the mic before you were framing my question because I wanted to pick up from the last statement from there. But I think your question itself is alluding towards what I was going to answer or ask about. So I think that gap between a learner and a trainer to be understanding as two different entities is going to get bridged, or is already getting bridged. What is being provided, how is it being provided, when is it being provided, that is something which is in the ecosystem available. And we all have access to it in one way or the other very easily. Yeah, and when I say very easily, it's a matter of maybe 3 C's if I look at. Cost-wise, the same material available at different costs. Everyone can afford that somewhere, including free courses. Convenience-wise, you have your self-paced learnings, you have classroom learnings, you have conferences, seminars. There is a cost, there is a convenience, and there is a continuity. And I think what's more important for us to look at is learning an event, like you come to a conference and learn it, is it something which is a continuous process as a mindset? And when I make the statement, maybe for skills, it is important to have a mental framework of saying that there is a trainer who is going to teach me something and I am a learner, I have to learn something. In ecosystem like this or any other environment, we may have a small percentage on the content which is important, but the learning is not happening only on the content. It's happening on what's happening around all of us. Look at a live example over here. All of you are here since morning, yeah, or whatever time you all came in. And there was a planned agenda which talks about various topics to be discussed. So the content is being shared. In the evening when you all go back, the level of assimilation of what content was shared will be very different for each one of us. Possibly none of us would remember the entire content which was shared. Maybe after a couple of days, the learning what we would get from this conference would be totally beyond this content. Because maybe you have discussed something outside on the in a small group on networking table. Maybe you have discussed something
while going back, coming in. Maybe you observed something happening over here. So I think the concept of learning is going to be how do I leverage my ecosystem around and not really come into a mindset of saying this 9 to 4, 3 to 5, whatever time frames of are my learning modules. They may give me skill-based learning, but real learning will be happening from the ecosystem. That's my view.
Sure, thanks.
I just want to pick one point that Dr. Maheshwari said. You said, irrespective of the age, and I would like to relate to what I had just spoken some time back on unlearning. The youngsters, there can, the ones of 2000 born and so on and so forth, whatever generation that you call them, their can is empty and they're hungry for learning. As against that, there are people who've already put in 2 decades and 3 decades. So it's not about what age are you in. It's about how empty is your can. A good learner is one who's ready for learning, irrespective of the age. So typically you've seen that the youngsters, are more ready for, because they have nothing, their slate is clean. So that's the point, that's the only difference. Otherwise, learners across the board, are as good and ready for learning with this changed environment.
Right. Thank you.
I think, Sabi, before you pass on to my left-hand side, I just want to add one more statement on what you mentioned. I think it's very important for us to look at that when we all talk about youngsters having a different aspect. It is the medium they use to learn is maybe different.
Yeah.
But the need to learn has not reduced for any age group. The need to do things better than yesterday, the need to do things different than yesterday continues to have that fire in the belly for every one of us. It is only that maybe some of us still go by a traditional book method or traditional lecture method or a classroom, still joining a course or enrolling for some certification, versus someone being more convenient and comfortably able to handle a digital platform, use a digital device, or maybe do something on the go kinds. So I think that's a difference. But appetite for learning is not reducing just because I have crossed a 50 or 40 or 60 kind of age. That's
Very good, interesting. So you're saying that appetite remains the same, and keeping that in mind, the profile of learners has not much changed is what you're saying, Manish.
learning medium has changed.
But the
but
profile
need
of
for
learners
learning.
has not.
So you will have people 60 plus who have a desire of same learning. You will also have people in below 20s who don't have a desire to learn something new and different. Yeah. So it is, let's not brand people into one category, because the moment we start branding it, we make them into a commodity. And human being is not a commodity. So somewhere we have to respect that human being is an individual who has his own sets of values, own sets of learnings in the environment, belief systems, and that has to be respected and customized for that person.
Sure, sure. You want to add here, Manish, and then I'll.
Yeah, all L&D professionals, how do they start? As trainers. और हम सबको ना बड़ा मज़ा आता है कि सब लोग ट्रेनर करते हैं, हम लोग अच्छी अच्छी किताबें पढ़ते हैं, फिर उसको बाकी लोगों को समझाते हैं, वो लोग भी और डिलीवरी करते हैं, उस पर ध्यान देते हैं, तालियां बजती हैं, बड़े खुश होते हैं और वो विशेष सर्कल बनता जाता है और बार बार हम वही काम कर रहे होते हैं. मतलब बड़ी अच्छी लगती है कमरे में जाके अपनी आवाज़. तो एक मतलब वो याद आ रहा है मुझे, एक ऐड आता था, मैं हुस्न परी मैं जाने जहाँ, मैं सबसे हंसी मैं सबसे जवां, सौंदर्य साबुन. राइट. सो आई थिंक इस चीज से निकल के बाहर आना पड़ेगा. That's the biggest change which Rabeen talked about, also unlearn, right? And till the time we keep doing that, communication kar diya, emotional intelligence kar is not going to help. So how am I helping business solve its problem? And then only the business will listen to me. That's the change which is happening, which I have been doing and working on last couple of years, right? In terms of what business problems am I able to solve through learning? I'll have to leave that trainer's hat and I have to wear that consultant hat. And that's the change which I have seen in myself, and that's the change I think, L&D professionals are going through.
Sure. So that's an interesting one, and you've given it a new turn in the conversation, because now you brought it to us as learning professionals. How are we unlearning and learning differently and doing differently for the larger organization? So good. Anjali, do you want to bring in some examples on this? How are you changing, or how are is your organization adapting to this new ways of learning and helping, facilitating learning?
Yeah, it's difficult. So we actually taking a cue from Manish. Last week only, I was discussing with my learning head, and we were discussing. So we belong to a retail company, and we have a merchandising departments. Obviously, there was, she was like, these people are completely busy and they don't come to training sessions, neither they online sessions. So we actually, I said her, you need to understand the business. Unless and until we intervene the HR and the business. So we no longer actually have to take off the hats of HR. HR, actually we have to transform ourselves rather than, first we have to unlearn. It starts from us. We talk about reskilling, upskilling. I think what I tell my team is it's the time that first you guys have to inculcate that concept of unlearn, learn, relearn. So I think we need to also, whether it's a functional report also. Now, if I am giving, there is a need of analytical thinking. I can't have a trainer and give a concept of what analytics is, how do you solve a problem, unless and until I link with a particular department. What actually analytics, what actually reports, what actually problem solving that they are facing day to day. And also most important thing that we are doing is linking to the KPIs. Now, if the learning, what they require, so it is actually learning daily, learning while you are working on. So is my learning very well integrated with your day-to-day work? When there is a strategy to be made, when there is a project to be executed. So what are the skills required? How do you cross-functionally collaborate? How do you look from a larger organizational framework? I think that's more important, and that's the key success. I mean, I am giving a communication training separately and having a tick box. Okay, these are my training calendar. I have to give a communications training. I have to give a presentation skill training, advanced Excel trainings. But hey, the need is different. Advanced Excel also, there is a specific to certain set of groups, set of departments. I think we should also have, it's tough for learning team, because how many modules and how many curated programs that they would make, but that's how we have to live with it. I think that's the key.
What I'm hearing from all of you is actually what has been there and continues to be there in the learning environment. I think the audience today are expecting from us, what is the future of learning? How are you seeing the learning changing in future? And how are you preparing yourself or the organization for that future of learning? So, Dr. Maheshwari, if you would want to talk about.
I think in terms of future of learning, what I'm anticipating is borderless, boundaryless, portable learning. And when I say portable learning, you would agree that the attention span of learners today has reduced considerably because they've been exposed to so much of data, so much of activity, so much of content everywhere, whether they're working in organizations or working from home or in any socio-economic environment. And therefore, since the attention span is less, and people have often got little time to devote to learning. So what we need to do is perhaps create certain portable learning modules which the learners can use their spare time. So if they have spare time, they're watching something, some movie, and they have some spare time, or they're traveling and they want to use that time to learn. I think that is the kind of learning that's going to come in future, and that's going to work also because that will attract their attention span. That is number one. When I said portability would mean that learning content from anywhere in the globe, because we have now access to the global expertise, global subject matter experts. Content is readily available, but that is available in abundance. So curated, identified, sorted content from global boundaries be made available in form of micro credentials, micro modules, through portable learning, through maybe a learning management platform, which a learner can access anytime, anywhere, midnight, morning, traveling, Saturday, Sunday, whenever this is possible. The idea is to gain those small packets of learning as and when they want and keep on moving. That's the way I anticipate future of learning going forward in a few years.
Very nice. Thank you for bringing us here. And let me lighten this up a little, and maybe I'll come to my right side now and challenge both of you. So what Dr. Maheshwari is talking about, bite-sized learning, learning from anywhere, shorter, simpler, on-the-go modules of learning. That's how he's seeing the future of learning. I've also heard some people challenging me on this thought process, and I want to hear your views, is about the effectiveness of this learning. So someone challenged me that, oh, come on, we read multiple books, we attended classes, we made notes, we made presentations, and then we learned the subject. You're telling me that someone would learn it by watching some small 3-minute videos? Will that learning sustain? Is that really learning? Is the challenge that I got, and I'm bringing that question to you, Rabeen, and then to you, Munish.
Yeah, so I think the change that we will see and will be the gap between the trainer and the trainee will reduce.
Mm-hmm.
It will be a session where both the parties will come together with some amount of knowledge and understanding. And you must have seen the games, the video games, where the game player itself reaches a level which is better than, he challenges the game creator. So I think very soon will come a situation where it will no more be the trainer, imparting and the trainee receiving.
Mm-hmm.
It will be so mutual that, that the boundaries will completely blur, and it will be a mutually learning session. And that is why we say that 80% of the learning will actually happen at the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
The future of learning is actually at the workplace, where the junior will be teaching the senior sometimes. The senior will be teaching the junior at some point in time. And at some point in time, both of them will actually learn collectively through an experience which is completely new, a scenario that they have never ever come in the past. And this is my experience, and trust me, the rate at which the business landscape is changing, there will be so many scenarios, like for example, COVID. In COVID, there wasn't a teacher and there wasn't a learner. Everybody kind of learned how to live through this difficult situation collectively. Everyone evolved. So those scenarios will kind of be more often. Everybody will come together, 80% of the time learn collectively, evolve collectively, and move forward. And the remaining 20% of the time, the gap between the trainer and the trainee will be so less, and they will mutually learn in the process, and they will kind of, the learner will teach the trainer will teach the learner, and then they will collectively grow. That's my view.
Very interesting. And before you answer, let me complicate it more for you to answer. Are you saying that in some ways the gratification of being the giver, the teacher, the trainer is going to reduce? Because now I am also equal to you. You're facilitating training, learning, and I'm also facilitating training and learning. Then who's bigger, who's higher, who's more, who's better?
Very powerful question, Sabi. This is something which starts from a very basic statement of mindset. And unless we are able to convert in any organization, and we are experimenting at I'm not saying we have succeeded already. We embarked on this journey at almost the same time when COVID was at its peak. So we are also experimenting and seeing whether it works. So we are trying to focus on creating a culture of growth mindset. And when it says growth mindset, then the aspect of whether I am a learner or a trainer totally gets washed away, because everyone is a learner. Even a trainer who is doing a training, is he looking at that opportunity of learning something of what I am doing as a trainer? Is it making an impact? The trainer is doing his profession right now. He is not actually a trainer. He is delivering something which is his job. So which means, am I continuously looking at things differently to see what else can be done better? How do I modify my content? Those days have gone, that you make those first 20 slides and keep on going to every forums and use those slides. The examples are going to be different, the interactions are going to be different, the audience is going to be different. So what we are trying to experiment is
delinking the technical trainings of skill based to say how to repair a turbine, how to wind a motor or something, they are going to still take some more time to learn before robotics takes over that domain. But mindset is the first topic we're working on, which means the skill which we want to imbibe in managers, and managers for us is more of an organizational face to the employee, because there is no human being called organization. Every employee sees or experiences the organization through his peers, through his managers, through his network. So what we are trying to look at is coaching as a skill is being invested upon as the most valuable input for the company. And coaching is nothing but a coaching conversation. So, when we sit together, what is that you would need to imbibe or acquire or pick up as a learning which is going to meet your career aspiration? We may have started our careers together, but what I want to achieve in 10 years and what you want to achieve in 10 years, what you want to achieve in 10 years could be very different. So the day of a common program for everyone, a common induction for everyone, common career path for everyone, I think we have to move away from that thought process to say it's going to be a customized learning. So the mindset is now, let's sit together, decide what you want, and then find a way how to get it done. And for the how part, I come back to that aspect of the digital and whatever available kinds. So the content will be like a normal commodity, normal item which is available to all of us. But the packaging of that to say how we bundle that content for each individual customized journey is going to be the key for future in my view. So which means the skill will not lie in creating content, because there will be experts who will do that for us. Yeah, and every company does not need to invest in creating those contents. There is a huge content available on social media, on digital learning, on platforms, and there are many guys who are unicorns investing into more and more content creation. The art will lie in sitting together, having a good talk, having that conversation between two people, and need not be only employee and manager. It can be even two colleagues, can be even father son, can be any pair of people who are having a conversation to see this is where I want to walk my next path, and for that path, what are the options available? How do I curate that content? How do I pick up that journey? How do I walk my first steps? What speed? What pace? Do I jump? Do I stay in the same platform or do I change my orbit? I think those are going to be important conversations. The skill will be actually having a right conversation in my view.
Wow, very nice. Yeah, sure.
So
Thank
I
you.
absolutely agree to what you just said. And I think diversity is one of the areas which we perhaps didn't touch. I'll give you a use case. I attended one class, which was basically on behavioral sciences. And this was a unique class with participants from all over the world, different ages, straight from 21 years to 60 years, different backgrounds, different professional backgrounds, different education. Teacher was basically engaging with all the participants, and he gave a topic. Describe your 3 best bosses and 3 worst bosses you have had in your career. That was the topic, and the idea was he wanted to derive boss-subordinate relationship and boss-subordinate learning styles out of that conversation. It was such an interesting interviewing conversation which went on for more than a week, and everyone described their 3 best bosses and worst bosses and how they interacted with them, how they succeeded with them, and how they failed with them. And at the end, the professor worked out 27 different type of boss-subordinate styles, and that's what learning is all about. That's what peer learning is, that's what interactive learning is, and that's what, guide by the side and not stage on the stage. So that's the kind of learning we are gradually moving towards. That was the use case I thought.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing this.
Dr.
Manish is
Maheshwari,
getting.
Before the very interesting point, but I think what we need to look at is maybe a time is in our own lifetimes. We are already in that particular bracket of 50 plus kinds, and some of us are much younger over here. A time is going to come in our lives very soon when there will be no boss-subordinate relationship. It will be only stakeholders who will be the influencing factors or decision makers. Whether I'm a boss or not, nothing will be important in that aspect. What I bring on table versus what I contribute is going to be the most important. Sorry.
Very good. Okay, so then I know we are just about to end our time, but before we go there, I thought since we are all learners and since we are all teachers, together we will experiment something new and different here. So what I thought, we'll in this panel, we'll also have a rapid fire that I want to have with my panelists here. In order to decide who responds to my questions, and it's not really a question, I'm going to make a statement related to learning and the environment of learning, and I want all of you to respond, but what I want you to do is respond very quickly, whatever comes to your mind on that statement immediately. I would need your help to decide who should I take the question to, who should respond to my question. For you to be able to do this, all of them have got this one baja here. They're going to blow this. You will have to show them how would you do this, please, all of you. So you have to blow this, yeah? Show everyone. Okay, so this is what they would do when I will ask this statement, when I will put this statement here. All of them would do this. You will have to help me who did it the first so that I can take the question to them. All right, I have got some statements here. Are you all ready? Baja haath mein? All right, good. Half-life of skills. Hey, yaar, bajana tha. Chalo, okay. Half-life of skills.
खत्म हो गया पहले से बजाया था बाहर अभी स्किल बेकार हो गया खत्म
I think life of skill. So one word is very short.
Very short.
Very short actually. Very short.
So half-life of skill, what you're saying is very short. Yes, indeed. I would want you to practice it because they should have full fun here. They paid for it. So you got to blow it once again so that they know this would work. Okay, yours. All right, so here comes the next one. Digital learning. Anjali was clearly the first one. Anjali, what comes to your mind? Need of the hour. Digital learning is the need of the hour. And that's the way to go. That will happen whether you like it or not. That's the direction that the world and the organization is taking. Here's the next one coming. Are you ready? Bite-sized learning. This was like given. Arab ki baat teri baari. Yes, please.
So my answer is not on learning. Right size for me is monthly salary.
Sorry?
Monthly salary. Which means every time you need it, it can't be stopping at one side, so the learning has to continue.
Sure.
The way you need our salaries every month, there has to be learning every month, every day.
Very nice. Absolutely. It has to be an ongoing process. Very well said. Very well said. Okay, here's the next one. Attention span of learner. Clearly. Okay.
7 minutes.
7 minutes. Oh, he's very precise. He's
That's a
got the-
researched aspect. Any kind of
okay.
learning beyond 7 minutes, you lose your attention. Until it is very, very engaging. So it has to be engaging.
यार डॉक्टर साहब पहले नहीं बताया डॉक्टर साहब ने पहले नहीं बताया आधे घंटे से बोल रहे हैं यहाँ पर you lost us in 7 minutes. Okay, here's the next one coming. Personalization of learning. Personalization of learning. Okay, Manish, because you talked about it.
मैंने तो बात नहीं
Munish, you talked about it. Sorry.
So for me, it's, since we're sitting in the Shangri-La at this point of time, so a buffet versus a la carte menu. So, learning on the buffet is all available. What I enjoy, what I need, what's good for me, I pick up from the menu.
To add on, this is a pizza concept. Base remains the same, toppings change based on your requirement.
Very nice, very nice. And I think that's going to be, again, that's the power of digital that would get us, and we will have to reinvent ourselves. So the future of learning is personalized. It would not be one standard module, one training that we would do for everyone. It has to be personalized. People would pick and would want to have what is relevant for them. And by the way, they have the choice. It is, so, and that gets me to the next question. All of you ready? Democratization of learning. मैं ले लूं? Democratization, again, the point that I was making, and I think all of us made that, was that there's enough that is available. There's no dearth of content that is required. There's no dearth of learning and trainings that is available. I think what we need to facilitate and to help people and youngsters and the larger organization learn is how to learn, how to find what you need to find, and how to make the best use of whatever is available. So that's going to be, it's going to be, and it is, there's enough available. There's no dearth of it, and we don't have to create new, or we don't have to bother that where do we get it from, or where do we make it available from. All right, so here's the next one coming. Okay, maybe for the audience. You'll have to shout yes, whosoever wants to respond. And this is good old classroom training. Anyone who wants to respond? Yes. Still relevant. Thank you, very good. Anyone else? Not yet obsolete. Yes, true. Practice.
Yeah, practice.
Sure.
Yeah. And mind it, this conference is not being held digitally.
Yeah, you're here to meet us, at least. Yes, please.
Sorry?
2 nights, 3 days. Oh, of course. That'll never go out of place. Absolutely. Absolutely. And here is one more coming. Training versus learning. Anyone who wants to take that?
Audience.
Okay. Yes. Wonderful. Learning is what I do for myself and why I do it. Yes, please, there. Sorry, learning is by?
So training is defined how the training proceeds, what all is covered by the
Right.
trainer, but learning is what derived mainly by the learner. So how he
Absolutely.
or she wants to take that learning.
Thank you.
And that's more long-term and not specified, restricted by dates and time.
Wonderful. Thank you.
So,
Yes,
so
please.
one differentiation, Saas-Bahu relationship. Saas-Bahu.
Okay, yes, please.
Fantastic.
Yes, sure. Wonderful. Absolutely. And thank you. That keeps us alive and that keeps us relevant as learning leaders of the organization. It is going to stay. Learning is going to stay. Maybe, and learners will stay, like what I've heard from all of you. So the future of learning is bright. There's a lot more to learn. No one will have all answers in the future. The future is very, very complex, ambiguous, difficult. Sorry, someone was making a point?
Yeah, training is forced, but learning is self.
Training is forced. Yeah, you are extrapolating it a little. I know, not really. But okay. So I think the guys are here, and जब ये खड़े हो जाते हैं इसका मतलब हमारी बारी आ गई. We need to move on. So thank you very much. Thank you for participating. I enjoyed the conversation. I hope you did.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you very much for wonderful.